Take a seat.
Interesting study. They asked a group of men, how's your relationship going? And when you ask a man, how's your relationship going, he will think of all the time you've been together and pretty much give you a global statement about the relationship. Even if there was an argument on the way to the workshop, he'll say, it's good. It's really good. So if you ask a man, how's the relationship, he'll look at the big picture, and he'll give you a general average of how this relationship is. Yeah, it's a really good relationship. If you ask a woman, how's your relationship going, she'll tell you how she feels right this minute. So if you had an argument on the way to this workshop, she'll say, it sucks. This is a crappy relationship. I mean, see, men feel close to their partners even when they're at work, even when they're out in the yard working. Just because he's distant doesn't mean he's not loving you or thinking of you or caring for you. But women, because their safety was connected to being close and being in contact, if you go too far from her, she feels anxious and unloved. So you have to make more contact with women. For women, it's about the contact. And it doesn't have to only be talking, but it could be if you come in the house for a hot cup of tea, you get her a cup of tea. If you know there's a storm coming, you call her. If you know that there's an activity that's going to happen on Sunday, you give her a heads up and let her know you're thinking about her. I mean, you text when you just for no reason at all. It's just making contact. Because women have a hypersensitivity to isolation, fear, and neglect. They also have a challenge because women talk to connect, but men have to connect to talk. And that makes a challenge for women. See, and here's the other thing that makes it even more complicated. Women hear complaints as an invitation to move closer. If you're my girlfriend and I call you and I say, I'm having a terrible day, you say, what? Honey, do you want me to come over? Do you want to get together? I mean, even if I'm complaining about you and say, you didn't call me and you said you were going to call me, you say, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me tell you why, and I had a good reason. And, if I call my girlfriend and complain to her, she moves in closer. Women hear complaints as a way or an invitation to come on in closer. I want you closer to me. If I call the man in my life and I complain, he knows sooner or later it's going to be his fault. Sooner or later, he's going to get the blame. And even if he doesn't get the blame, here's what a lot of women don't understand. Because a man judges himself on how happy you are, women, if you're unhappy about anything, doesn't even have to do with him. If you're unhappy about anything, he feels like a failure. So you've got to know, if you're going to complain, then say, would you please listen to me vent so that I'll feel better? And let him know, thank you for making me feel better. This is what the male brain looks like. Sort of. That the male brain, it's like it has these separate boxes. And if you notice, these boxes aren't touching each other. So when a man is in his work box, he's not thinking about his partner. When a man is in his sports box, he's not thinking about the kids. And the man has a box in his brain that women don't have, and it has nothing in it. And this is his favorite box. So when you ask a man, what are you thinking about? And he says, nothing. He's in his nothing box. And what the gentleman said in the back is so true, because remember, we have relied upon men and required the men to be focused and concentrated and to do one thing at a time very, very well. We have really relied on them to do that. Doesn't mean they can't multitask. It's just that it takes more effort, because men still do the jobs that require long, arduous focusing and concentration. Doesn't mean women can't. If I couldn't focus, I wouldn't have written 4 or 5 books. But I have to tell you, my brain works more like this. If I go in to sit down to write my book, and I'm going to work on my book, and I'm going to write, I sit down at the computer, and I look at the keyboard, and I say, oh, look at the dust on that keyboard. I'm going to go get the dust rag, and I'll get the pledge, and I get the pledge, and oh, I didn't take the clothes out of the dryer, so I'm going to take the clothes out of the dryer. I'll take them to the bedroom because they'll be wrinkled if I don't fold them. So I'm folding the clothes, and then, oh, I didn't make the bed, so I'm going to make the bed. I mean, that's the way my mind works, because we multitask. But for men, they're highly focused, and so just because he's not texting you or calling you doesn't mean he doesn't love you, because you give him meaning. Now, the female brain is more like spaghetti. Everything is connected. You know, cooking is connected to hormones, which is connected to feeling fat, you know, and the kids are connected to sex and birthdays, and I mean, it's all connected. So when she says, if you want to make love to me, then you better be nice to me, it's all connected. It's all connected. So, let's see, what time is it before lunch? Do we have, 5 minutes? About 5 minutes. Okay, good. So 5 minutes over lunch, I want you to think about the difference between men, the difference between women, because the key is to honor and be excited about the difference. In fact, I want to back this up now. To how to improve any relationship without talking about it is to respect the differences between men and women. What does that mean? Bottom line, men are hypersensitive to criticism, blame, feeling inadequate, feeling weak. Women are hypersensitive to isolation, deprivation, your anger. Men as a group don't realize how your anger, you know, the male voice is designed for roaring. And a man will say, I'm not angry. But he sounds angry to her. And it's scary. Because remember, women have a hypersensitivity to fear. And fear, of course, makes us want to cling and move in and have reassurance. And, of course, the more you want to cling, the more the guy wants to run away. And so this is where you get in a tug of war. So you respect the differences between men and women, because difference really makes life interesting. We like difference. We want difference. And, of course, this is my colleague, Stephen Stosny, who wrote the book, How to Improve Your Marriage Without Talking About It. He and I wrote the book together. And we had our picture taken together because when we were doing a workshop, we often present together. And we have a slide that says men are taller than women, and he and I stand up together like this. And the reason why we show this slide is because as I'm talking about men and women, I'm sure that you know some exceptions to the rule. You know, when I say men are this way and women are this way. And that's because research predicts for groups better than individuals. That means that if you lined up 100 men and you lined up 100 women, the average male would be taller than the average woman. But within that group of men or women, there will be some women that are taller than some men. And what Stephen often says is there'll be some tall women and some short, attractive men. You know, that's what he always says when we get up and says that. So as I quote research, I like to remind you that, yes, there are exceptions to all these rules, but men are different. You know, if you find the remains of a human being, you can tell if it's male or female from the bone structure. We are different. But it doesn't mean men can't multitask. It doesn't mean women can't focus. It means that if we honor the difference and not be critical of each other because we are different, then we will improve any relationship without talking about it.
Take a seat.